The city was quiet that evening. Not the usual hum of traffic, the constant chatter of fans, or the soft echo of cameras clicking. It was rare, almost unnatural, the kind of quiet that seemed to settle just when you wanted to be alone, yet somehow made you feel even more exposed. Shen Yue stood at the edge of the hotel balcony, her fingers curling lightly around the railing, feeling the cold metal bite against her skin. The wind brushed against her hair, tossing loose strands across her face, and for a brief moment, she let herself breathe without pretending, without smiling for anyone. She had been in the city for weeks, attending promotional events, photo shoots, interviews, and rehearsals. She had smiled for the cameras, joked with the reporters, and handled every question with grace and poise. Yet behind every polished expression, every perfectly timed laugh, there had been a quiet heaviness, one that Wang, more than anyone, seemed to notice. And tonight, that heaviness was about to be resolved in the only way it could. Wang stepped onto the balcony silently. He didn't announce his presence. He didn't call out her name. He simply appeared beside her, letting the space between them speak first. She didn't look at him immediately. Instead, she exhaled slowly, letting the wind carry her unease away for a moment. Her hands trembled slightly, betraying the calm facade she had maintained for weeks. Finally, she turned her gaze, catching his reflection against the dim city lights. Dylan's eyes softened instantly when he saw her. There was a weight in his expression, a mixture of longing, concern, and something he refused to label in front of others. "You're leaving tomorrow," he said quietly. His voice didn't demand a response. It was simply an acknowledgement of what they both already knew. Shen Yue swallowed hard. "Yes." Her voice was steady but low, barely above the sound of the wind. "I didn't want it to come so quickly." He nodded slowly, stepping closer. "I know." There was a pause. Neither of them moved. Neither of them spoke. It was as if the city itself had grown quiet in respect to the moment, watching two people who had shared countless hours, countless memories, and countless unspoken emotions, now facing the inevitability of distance. Shen Yue finally broke the silence. I didn't expect it to be like this." Dylan looked at her, carefully studying every detail of her expression. The faint tremor in her voice, the subtle tension in her shoulders, the way her eyes flicked toward the horizon before meeting his gaze. He had noticed it all. He always noticed. "Like what?" he asked softly, almost afraid of the answer. "Like saying goodbye should feel easier," she admitted. "Like we'd have more time. Like it wouldn't hurt so much." He swallowed. The words he wanted to say lodged somewhere in his throat. Instead, he allowed the quiet to stretch, letting her speak without interruption. She continued, her voice gaining a fragile steadiness. "These past few weeks, I try to focus on work. I've tried to smile through the events, through the photos, through the interviews. But every time I see you, every time I hear your voice, it's like the city disappears for a second, and I can't pretend anymore." Dylan's hand brushed against the railing, almost instinctively moving closer to hers without touching it. The subtle movement was enough for her to feel his presence like a pulse against her own heartbeat. "You don't have to pretend," he said softly. His eyes held hers now, unwavering, patient, and entirely sincere. "Not with me. Not ever." Her lips pressed together. "I wish that was possible. But tomorrow I leave. And we both know how complicated everything is." He exhaled, the wind carrying his words gently toward her. "Complicated doesn't mean impossible. It just doesn't make it easy." Shen Yue closed her eyes for a brief moment, letting the weight of his words settle. She remembered the nights they had spent together during promotional shoots, the whispered jokes backstage, the moments where neither of them had spoken yet understood everything. The warmth, the laughter, the unspoken understanding. And now, in this quiet moment, it all felt like a lifetime ago, and yet painfully close. "I don't want to leave like this," she admitted. Her voice cracked slightly, betraying the calm she had maintained in public. "I don't want to leave without saying everything." Dylan's expression softened even further. "Then say it," he whispered. Shen Yue took a deep breath, gathering courage. "You've been more than a friend. More than anyone I expected to meet in this city, in this career, in my life. And I didn't know if I could admit it, even to myself. But the truth is, leaving feels impossible because I don't want to leave you behind. Dylan's eyes glistened under the dim lights, and for a moment, he simply allowed the silence to stretch between them, letting her words sink in. He didn't interrupt. He didn't rush. He just let her speak her truth. I know our schedules, our lives, everything will change, she continued, her voice soft but steady. But I had to tell you. I had to let you know before I disappear into the next chapter of my life. Dylan took a careful step closer, his hand now hovering just near hers. You're not disappearing, he said quietly. Not from me. Not from this. Not from what we have. Her heart raced, 1,000 emotions flooding at once. Relief, fear, longing, and a quiet, deep joy she hadn't allowed herself to feel for weeks. Shen Yue finally let her hand fall to her side, allowing herself to breathe. Then, what do we do? She asked, almost whispering. He reached out, then, slowly, deliberately, just enough to brush against her fingertips. She didn't pull away. She let the connection linger, letting the contact speak louder than any words. We do what we've always done, he said softly. We take it one moment at a time. We don't rush. We don't force anything. We just see where it goes. Even if the city changes, even if tomorrow is different, even if distance comes between us, we start here. Shen Yue nodded, a small, tentative smile appearing for the first time that evening. One moment at a time, she repeated. The city lights stretched out before them, a web of golden warmth across the dark horizon. It wasn't the future she had imagined, and it wasn't the past she had clung to. It was something new, fragile, and entirely theirs. They stood there together for a long moment, letting the silence envelop them, letting the quiet speak for the words neither dared to say out loud. Finally, Shen Yue exhaled. I should go, she said, her voice steady but soft. Dylan nodded, but he didn't let go of her fingers immediately. When you leave, promise me something? What? She asked, though her heart was already racing. Promise me you won't forget tonight, he said. Promise me you'll remember this moment, and not just a goodbye. She felt the warmth of his words seep into her chest. I promise, she whispered. He stepped back slightly, letting the space between them grow, but his gaze never wavered. Then go. We'll see each other again. Shouldn't you? I promise. Tears threatened to fall, but she blinked them away. She smiled softly, and for the first time in weeks, it felt genuine, not forced, not for the cameras, not for anyone else. She nodded, whispering, I'll see you again. Turning toward the elevator, she walked away slowly, each step weighted with the knowledge that this goodbye wasn't an ending.